Philip from the Mark Out Movie Podcast. Welcome to this edition to Shudder In Horror, a weekly episodic program here on the Mark Out Movie Podcast where we look at different movies, TV shows, or documentaries that's on the Shudder streaming service to see if they are something that you possibly want to see, and maybe if you want to even try out Shudder. Well, in this episode, we're looking at a movie called Daniel Isn't Real.
It's common for people to see things that aren't real.
A troubled college freshman, Luke, suffers a violent family trauma. He then resurrects his charismatic childhood imaginary friend Daniel to help him cope, not realizing how dangerous Daniel is. This film is directed by Adam Egypt Mortimer and is starring Miles Robbins as Luke and Patrick Schwarzenegger as Daniel. And there's other people in this film. So this movie is from 2019. It was an interesting take on the imaginary film friend trope can I call it a trope? You don't hear about a lot of it in horror. I would just say it's a different spin on maybe possession films in that case. Daniel is an imaginary friend of Luke, and Luke sees and experiences some childhood trauma, and Daniel, comes about, manifests himself to help Daniel through the trauma. Not Daniel, but Luke through the trauma, dealing with being adolescents and dealing with like a broken home type of scenario, and a mom that is clearly in some type of mental illness, and so he has to deal with this. But he has a friend that is a little bit more than a friend. The friend that is a little, how should I say, sinister in nature. That is Daniel. Daniel is played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, as I once mentioned, who does an excellent job in this film as this Daniel character. You could tell, even before I knew that it was Arnold's son, you can tell he has some type of charisma about himself. The way he carries himself, the way that he has so much, like I said, charisma, charm, and chaos about him without even being over the top. And so I really enjoyed his performance in this film, and I also enjoyed the character of Luke, Miles Robbins. Miles does an excellent job playing Luke, a guy that is socially awkward, doesn't really have a lot of friends, don't really know how to interact with people, and has a mom, like I said, that is going through some type of mental illness. And it can take its toll on a person. And so in order to get through, to navigate the trauma of this situation, Daniel appears. The movie starts off with a bang. It starts off with which is the way I like a lot of films to start off. Something that just kind of goes from 0 to 60 in like 5 seconds. This film does that. This film also has really good writing, really good cinematography. It has great effects. I'm not sure if the effects in this film was practical. I know that a lot of it had to be, computer CGI type of effects, but I think that there is some practical stuff in here, or it felt like it. It felt like a very horror version of Drop Dead Fred. If you remember, Drop Dead Fred is a film about Phoebe Cates and her imaginary friend who gets her into all kind of mischief, and appeared as a child when she was going through some type of trauma between her parents separating, and then as an adult when she started going through the trauma of her spouse or fiance cheating on her and being fired and things like that. It brought Fred back.
Drop dead Fred.
Where is the dolls? I want to play with the... Aha! The dolls! Hello, Jemima. Hello, Angelique. Hello. You're gonna die. Ah! Mm. Ah! Mr. Pooh!
This is the same way with Daniel, but Daniel was a little bit more than Fred. Fred was more of a, hey, I'm your buddy, but I'm not going to kill nobody. You know, Daniel crazy. Daniel crazy. That's all I can say. Daniel's crazy. But I recommend anybody take time to watch this film. I'm going to go ahead and give you my marks on the markout meter. I give this film 4 markouts out of 5. It's not a perfect film, but it was an entertaining film. It was a great story, and these actors I wasn't familiar with, but I want to see them in more things. Hopefully more horror. The guy that plays Luke in this film, Miles Robbins, for a second I thought it was the dude from Zack and Cody, like all grown up, but it wasn't him. He kind of looks a lot like that guy. But this film is good, and it's on Shudder, and is a Shudder exclusive, so it is their baby. So I recommend you take a chance to check it out. Shudder, I believe, has a free 7-day trial. Try it out, and then it's $5 I think after that. I'm not here on the numbers. Shudder is not sponsoring this. This is just me talking. But you should at least try it out for 7 days for free. Find something you like. If you don't, then hey, that's fine. But hey, anyway, my name is Aaron Whitlow. I thank you for marking out with me here on the Mark Out Movie Podcast. Thank you for listening to our stuff. Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing our stuff. If you want us to look at anything, if you have Shudder and you want me to look at anything on Shudder, please let me know. Say, Aaron, in the comments, you should check this movie out on Shudder, and I will do it, and I will do it for you. So in the meantime and in between time, this is Aaron Whitlow from the Mark Out Movie Podcast. As always, thank you for marking out with us here on the Mark Out Movie Podcast.